guys, this is Dr. Megan Marie DeLegas here, physical therapist. I'm going to go into RPE, or rate of perceived exertion, for strength training specifically. Why it's specific to strength training is because we use RPE in coordination with the amount of repetitions we're doing of a specific weightlifting exercise. So I'm going to attach the chart below so it's a reference that you can always use. But basically in this chart we have the scale from 0 to 10, and we typically look at the upper half of it because anything below from 0 to 5 or 6-ish is a negligible amount of energy for when our goal is to create strength development or changes. So it's on the chart. We usually just don't look at it. Usually that's warm-up stuff. That's stuff that's sustainable, that's lower intensity. But when we're actually trying to create strength changes, we're gonna look at the 6-ish and above part of the scale. So from starting top down, an RPE of 10 is basically a level of intensity where you're doing your repetitions that are asked of you in a workout program, and I'll go into that in a second. The amount of repetitions, you're gonna go through them until you basically have 0 repetitions left in your energy stores. What we also call that is repetitions in reserve. How many repetitions in reserve do we have left? So with an RPE 10, maximum effort, just to remind you, we have no more repetitions left in our energy stores. So this is a max effort. So, but with an RPE 9, the number below that, we have 1 left of repetitions in reserve. So we will work up to a certain amount of repetitions, and it's gonna be different for anyone depending on fitness level and what the program is asking of you, but you're basically getting to a point of fatigue where you stop when you know you only have 1 repetition left, and otherwise it's gonna be a really grindy 1 repetition. It's gonna be tough. And the same thing with 8, and if you're seeing the trend here, when you hit an RPE of 8, you're working hard enough, but you're stopping when you have 2 repetitions left in reserve. And the same thing with RPE 7, you have 3 repetitions left in reserve. And so this is pretty simple in concept, but if you're new to it, it's hard to know what an RPE 7 for you feels like, and that's very normal. The longer you do it, the more you kind of know what your body can do and how much more energy you have to do however many extra repetitions left. So I always just tell people, when you're starting out, it's not gonna be perfectly accurate, and that's where a coach can kind of tell you, like, no, you could push a little harder there. That didn't look like an RPE 9, that looked like an RPE 6. Which is kind of crazy for some when they're learning that, they have that much more energy capacity, they just haven't tested it. So I always just tell people, be patient with yourself as you're learning this scale. There are also little half markers in between. So for example, it's not just 7, 8, 9, and 10. There's 9.5, there's 8.5, and there's 7.5 and below. And it's basically just kind of those intermediate, like middle ground ratings. So for example, an RPE 7 has 3 reps in reserve, an RPE 8 has 2 reps in reserve, but a 7.5 has 2 definite reps in reserve, and then maybe 3. So it's that halfway mark. Again, that's in the chart that I'm gonna post below, but at least you can understand how that works. Now, in terms of application, there's a couple ways to do things. So I'm gonna keep it simple for now and just say, what if you only have your body weight? That's all you have available to you. You don't have any external weights. How are you going to get stronger? So it might take you longer, and there might be other things that we can adjust, but you can still develop some strength when you are using your body weight. And what typically we'll see is that people will just stop at 3 sets of 10, a generic 3 sets of 10, body weight squats, and then they're done. But I don't think that that's very often, if you're generally fit, that you're gonna actually be hitting a level of difficulty or intensity that you're creating adaptations. Because you have to remember, we have to create adaptations by challenging ourselves enough. So if you're getting to 3 sets of 10 of body weight squats, you may not be challenging yourself enough to get stronger. So what do we do? How do I program something like that for somebody? Usually, I'll usually just say, hey, if we're doing body weight squats, I want you to do 3 sets to an RPE level of, let's say, 8. So we're not using a repetition scale anymore. We're just doing a certain amount of energy or squats until you hit that intensity that's difficult enough for you that you only have 2 repetitions left in your energy stores. Okay, so for somebody, 3 sets of bodyweight squats to an RPE 8 might be, their first set might be like, okay, I have to go all the way to 40 bodyweight squats to hit an RPE 8. Whereas somebody else who may be a little less fit or recovering from an injury, they get fatigued to an RPE 8 at only 12 repetitions, both of which are creating an adaptation to that individual. And it only will as long as you're getting to that level of intensity and fatigue and challenge. So when it comes to body weight, the number of repetitions doesn't matter as much as the intensity does. So that is a little simple, but imagine doing this with push-ups, for example, which are typically harder to do in body weight for the average person than just doing body weight squats on average. So if I were to say, hey, I want you to do 3 sets, and instead of like 10 or 12 or 15, I want you to do 3 sets until you hit an RPE of 8. So for somebody, for me, for example, an RPE of 8 in push-ups, I will probably have to get somewhere around 20 push-ups. Okay, and then maybe my second set would be 18 push-ups because I'm a little tired. My third set might be 16 push-ups because I'm a little bit more tired. And every single one of those, though, I'm hitting that RPE 8 because I'm like, okay, as I'm doing them, I'm feeling, okay, I don't think I have more than 2 more repetitions of push-ups. So that's the challenge or difficulty intensity level that I'm hitting. Okay, so this is important. With body weight, you can always still find a way to get fatigued to elicit change. You just end up maybe doing more repetitions, or you find a way to advance that body weight exercise to something else so that you are creating that change. When it comes to applying it to weight lifting, meaning you have access to weights, then it's a little bit different. So let's keep the numeric value very simple and just say we're gonna aim for 3 sets of 10 to an RPE of 8. What that looks like is basically you are going to do sets of 10 of, let's say, squats. 3 sets of 10 is the goal. We are going to work our way up to a set of 10 with a lightweight, that's a warm-up, and you kind of rate that in your head of an RPE. Like maybe that was an RPE of 4, meaning it wasn't too challenging, but I did the movement. And then you take a rest. And then you go again because you add a bit of weight and you say, okay, I'm gonna do this now. You go all the way up to reps of 10, a set of 10. This is still a warm up because you're like, okay, that wasn't that hard. I would say that I added weight. That's probably more of an RPE of 6 now. So you're getting closer to the goal of heavy enough weight where you have only 2 reps in reserve, but you're not quite there yet. So you take your rest and then you add a bit more weight and you do the squats again, and then you hit 10. You hit 10 repetitions as requested, and you're like, I only had 2 repetitions left in my energy stores. I totally nailed it. That there is basically you just hit your first set of 10 reps at an RPE 8. The previous 2 were just warm-up sets. One was RPE 4, the other one was RPE 6, then you added weight and you finally hit an RPE of 8. Cool, that is your working set. The next of the 3 sets, you might maintain that weight right there and just do your 3 sets there. And you might find on your 3rd set, you're like, oh, that was getting pretty hard. I didn't get enough recovery in between. So maybe that was an 8.5, meaning you probably pushed, you hit your 10th repetition and your energy stores were a little less than the first set that you did because you're a bit more tired. That's when you can adjust the weight on your on your bar or whatever it is that you're using, so that you're always hitting the RPE 8. So even within a session, even within the 3 sets, you can adjust the weight so that you're getting an RPE of whatever is requested. In this example, it was 8, okay? So those are 2 main ways to do this. You have the body weight way, which is, you know, your only tool. You don't have any external load, you don't have any external weights, so you have to adjust how many repetitions you do so that you hit that intensity. And then the other one is you have external load and you have a fixed amount of repetitions. So what you have to do is adjust the weights until you hit that RPE that's being requested. Again, this takes practice. It takes a little bit of coaching if you're really unfamiliar with it, but it is a really amazing way to make sure that you are working just hard enough to create changes, but not so hard that you can't recover well and potentially risk injury. So that is why, even in moments like the global pandemic, doing body weight exercises is possible. There are ways to change some parameters to make sure that you're at least sustaining some of the strength that you've gained. And then when it comes to having access to weights, you have other ways to create the fixed required amount of repetitions by adjusting weight. All right, so that is RPE for strength training and how it applies. Again, the chart I have is attached, and that way you can always reference it, you can always print it, and I will have this video clipped onto it on one of my PDFs as well. Hope this was really helpful. If not, feel free to reach out to me or follow me on Instagram under MeganMarie_PT, or on my website, feel free to reach out at meganmariept.com. Again, I will go over RPE for other types of fitness, but one of the most important really is strength, because it's not often applied the right way or the most beneficial way or efficient way. So hope you like it. Shoot me any messages in the comments below and I'll get back to you if I can.